So, who should the Kansas City Chiefs re-sign? Who should they let walk? Should they cut people? Who do they restructure? Let's just talk about all of it because they're actually in a very fascinating situation, and they're one of the teams that has gotten screwed over pretty badly by this unexpected cap drop that we've seen. So, let's just get into it, and we'll start off with what you see on your screen right here. So, on the top of the screen there, they have $26 million under the cap. So they need to clear $26 million just to get to the cap. Plus, they have a ton of free agents right here. I mean, the guys who will probably get paid the most, the numbers you see to the right are how much I expect them to get paid annually. You have Sammy Watkins, who they will probably let walk. Rashad Breeland, who's a really good player. He's probably going to get double-digit millions of dollars. Austin Ryder, who's a really valuable center for them. I think that he's someone that they don't want to lose. And a lot of valuable role players as well. Daniel Sorensen. You have guys like DeMarcus Robinson, Osemele, Anthony Sherman, their fullback. So a lot of guys they have to sign, not a ton of money. Also, this isn't every single free agent they have to sign. These are just the biggest names, in my opinion. So here are the players that they could cut. They could cut Tyrann Mathieu. I'm not saying they're going to. I'm not saying they should. These are just the players that they could realistically, you could make a small argument for potentially or trade for, because the trading or cutting, you save the same amount of cap space. So that's how much they would save if they traded or cut either of these guys, Mathieu, Eric Fisher, Damian Williams, and Anthony Hitchens. The reason why Hitchens is on there is you're actually incurring a good amount of dead cap if you do cut him. But next year, you don't have to pay his $10 million salary, which you probably want to get out of. That's a tough contract. So it might be worth it. Only save $2 million this year, but you're also saving money next year, unless he's willing to work out a deal, which I don't know why he would take less money. I think this is probably the better, that could be a good option. So now let's talk restructures. So these are some guys that, again, just that they could restructure. You decide if you think they should or shouldn't. You could restructure the first two guys, Frank Clark and Chris Jones. These are two big contracts. Amazingly, the Chiefs will be paying Frank Clark more money. He has the biggest cap hit out of anybody next season, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, he's going to get paid $25 million, $26 million, and $27 million. You could try to kick the can down the road a little bit. It looks like I have the wrong number there. With it should be 20, not 18. So you'd save about $5 million doing that. Same thing for Chris Jones. You could save about $5 million, but if you do that, you're going to be paying these guys a lot down the road, although you would probably cut them and not actually have to pay that much. But still, you would have to pay more by doing this. They're not going to take less money. To the ones that would probably make more sense, Tyrann Mathieu, you could definitely make a 1-year extension or probably even a longer extension if you want to try and clear up about $6 million. Fisher, I think a long extension would make sense. Kelsey's actually only going to have a $7 million cap hit next year, and then it gets a lot more backloaded the next 3 years. So you can honestly just flip this year and next year, essentially, get $6 million that way. And Mitchell Schwartz, you could just give him a big extension, and he's only going to get $10 million this year, but you can make that even lower, but then add on the extension. And so, he's getting more money, he's happy, and you get more space for this year. The problem with these kind of restructures, of course, is that you eventually are going to have, it's kicking the can down the road, but the Kansas City Chiefs are actually in a better situation next year than they are this year. The reasoning for that is there's actually two big reasons why they're in a better situation next year. One, the cap just should be higher with, after COVID, you expect that NFL can start making some more money, which that's what I would expect. And the other really big reason is these are, I guess, three reasons, but the second reason is a two-parter. It's Chris Jones and Frank Clark. You can get out of those contracts next year. This year, you would actually lose money by cutting them. So you can't cut them this year, but next year you can cut them and save money. So they're kind of in a better spot. So actually kicking the can down the road, not a horrible move. The one exception, of course, is Mahomes' contract, which is already going to get, it's so backloaded and it's so big. But so that's an issue. But as a whole, I do think that they're in a better situation. So those are just some options. So now I wanted to say, okay, those are the options. What do you do? I'm going to try and plug in some certain options and see what I like the best. So first, we'll start off with this one. And this is a very conservative approach where all you do is re-sign Byron Pringle, Travarius Ward, and Anthony Sherman. I think those three guys, you're ending up adding $7 million to what you're going to need at the end of this. But they're going to need at least a third corner. You can't lose both. I don't think you can lose Breland and Ward. So losing one of them, you're basically taking the cheaper option right here. You're also losing Sorensen, but I think they can kind of replace him. Don't love it, but it's an option. And Pringle returns punts, so he's valuable. Sherman cheap because he's a fullback, so might as well keep that. And if you restructured Matthew, Kelsey, Fisher, and Schwartz and cut Damian Williams and Anthony Hitchkins, you would end up saving 26 million and you would need 33. So you're still 7 million away, which is not ideal, but you're at least getting somewhere here. However, I just don't know if I love this. For one thing, losing, Austin Ryder, you're also losing Assembly. So you're losing some offensive line that you would really like to keep in an ideal situation. And you're still pushing some money down the road. It feels like there has to be a better way. So let's look at some other options. You could do this, which is still the 3 people that you signed last time, you're signing this time. But now there's one slight twist I'm adding. Instead of restructuring Tyrann Mathieu's contract, you trade Tyrann Mathieu, which again, not ideal, but you're clearing a $14 million cap hit. And if you feel like you can get draft picks, which are going to be way cheaper, you can maybe draft a starting safety that could be a really good situation. Again, not going to be Tyrann Mathieu, but that could be a way where you lose some talent, but are able to at least get the draft capital back to make it work. And you still cut Williams and Hitchkins. This time you would save enough money that you actually have an extra million in cap space. I'm not saying they should do it, just throwing it out there as an option. Because for some reason, when I throw out options, people get mad at me. Like, what do you want me to do? Not throw out the option? I'm just letting you know this is something they could do if they choose. There's also this option, which is you sign Ryder, who, they're going to want him. And also Assembly, you get him as well. So I still don't think they would have enough money for Breland, which, I would love to re-sign Breland. I just don't think they have the money to do so. I think he's going to want a bit of money. And what you're doing here, the way you're getting that extra money to sign those guys is by restructuring the 3 guys that I restructured the last time, but also Frank Clark and Chris Jones. So again, do you want to do that? I don't know, but it's an option. And now your net cap is, negative 5 million. Again, that's something you can work with. It's going to be tough, but you can find a way to clear up the rest of that money sort of through the littler guys. I'm not going to go through every single person's contract and find where it can clear 200 grand. You can figure it out yourself if you're the GM, but it's a starting point. So those are 3 different approaches you could take. However, I've thought of a 4th approach that I think that will probably end up getting taken. And it's the fact that there's one thing I haven't brought up, one way that they could save money, and it's Patrick Mahomes' roster bonus that he's about to get could save up to $17 million if you just push it all to the next 4 years, basically. Now, do you want to continue pushing more money towards the end of Mahomes' contract? I don't know. I mean, he's already only getting $23 million this year, which, it's going to go way up after that. But there could be some real logic behind it because the other options aren't that great. And this could be the one thing you do, especially given the fact that next year you're in a better situation than you are this year, despite Mahomes' contract actually getting worse. Watch, if he did that, you could sign the 3 that I've had signed for all of these, Ward, Pringle, and Sherman. You're now getting your center back. And on top of this, no one else I have signed, but you're going to restructure. You don't even have to worry about Jones or Clark. You can still just keep them on the team this year, cut them next year, which I think I would do. You restructure the other 4 guys and Mahomes. So again, you're not trading Mathieu either. You do have to cut Damian Williams and Hitchkins, but again, I think that's not a big deal given everything else. And this now means that, you needed $44 million. You've got $43 million of it right there. So still negative $1 million, but again, you can easily work with that. I think to me, that's clearly the correct decision to make, is that one. There are some downsides, and this does suck for the Chiefs that probably thought that maybe their window could be a little bit bigger before they had to really start working on this cap crunch situation. But this is the problem with drafting a lot of great players, is you have to eventually start paying those great players. You see that with the Saints. You're seeing that with the Kansas City Chiefs. It is what it is. It's a good problem to have because let's be honest, even if Kansas City loses some of their talent, they're still in a great position. I mean, if they lost everybody, every free agent, they're still, certainly championship contenders. So they're in a good spot. It's a little bit hairy, but again, they're going to be fine. And as long as they draft well, then you're good. And that's really what we knew it was going to come down to. It still comes down to that. They might have to draft a starter in this next draft. It might not be good enough just to draft someone with potential and see what happens. They're kind of in a position where, hey, they might have to just say, we have the 31st overall pick. We have to get a cornerback, or we have to get a safety. We have to get a center, offensive lineman, something. That might be what they're in. I don't know. Could be interesting, though. What do you guys think is going to happen? Which option do you think the Chiefs should take? Do you think that? Let me know what you think they should do. I'm interested in hearing what you guys think about this. I just feel like losing the talent here when you're clearly a Super Bowl contending team, I think that you want to do anything but that. That's what I think. Interested in hearing what you guys have to say. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.